high school, we are taught of the different types of mathematical functions, such as quadratic, rational, linear, polynomial, and many others. And we cannot deny that when it gets hard or way too confusing to comprehend, we tend to rant out. What is the use of these functions in my life anyway?
What some of us don't know is that these functions are vital to different fields of endeavor, particularly in civil engineering. Civil engineering is a professional occupation involving the design, construction, and maintenance of the naturally and physically built environments, like bridges, roads, tunnels, and buildings. It has been around since the beginning of human existence, and it plays an important role in our society. And believe it or not, the functions taught to us at school are being used by the civil engineers in their jobs.
Are you familiar what a cantilever beam is? It is a beam anchored at only one end. The beam carries the load to the support where it is forced against by a moment in shear stress. Cantilever construction allows for overhanging structures without external bracing. Cantilevers can also be constructed with trusses or slabs. Now, to get the slope at free end of a cantilever beam, you're gonna need this formula, which is a rational function, wherein m is a couple moment at the free end, L is the length of the beam, E is the elastic modulus, and A is the area moment of inertia. Now, if it weren't for the use of a rational function type of formula, imagine how civil engineers will be able to find what is being asked.
We all know that when earthquakes occur, it's not just people who are affected, but also infrastructures like buildings. And it is the role of the civil engineers to design buildings that could withstand strong magnitudes of earthquakes. However, how would they know the magnitude of an earthquake that may hit a certain building? That is why logarithm function is needed. To solve for the magnitude of an earthquake, civil engineers use this formula. And in order to do that, they have to be familiar with logarithms.
We've all seen bridges. It could be bridges in our country or in different parts of the world. And did you know that in order to determine certain measurements in bridges, civil engineers use the quadratic function? Let's take the Golden Gate Bridge in California, USA as an example. Each cable joining the two towers on the bridge can be modeled by the function, which is a quadratic function, wherein x and y are measured in feet. And to look for the height above the cable at its lowest point, finding the vertex of the quadratic equation should be performed.
Let's move on to the last function used by civil engineers, which is trigonometry. Trigonometry is used in calculating dimensions such as height, width, and angles. It is also used in building scale models and the actual buildings, or roads, or bridges. Now, let's use the Eiffel Tower as an example. Let's say that the Eiffel Tower has begun rusting and the top section has to be replaced. A scale model has been constructed to plan the project. The length of x and y need to be solved to the actual beginning of construction and finish the planning stage. The trigonometric function type of formula that we will use as we are all familiar with, is the Pythagorean theorem, which also involves the use of sine, cosine, and tangent.
can conclude that the functions taught to us at school are indeed important to civil engineering.
And you may think that they're not important to your life today.
But maybe when you grow up, you will decide to be a civil engineer and you will start to truly appreciate these functions.
With proper computation, graphing and measuring, little by little, civil engineers with the help of functions can help in shaping our country and society further.
Whether rational, trigonometry, quadratic, or logarithmic, functions are essential in being a civil engineer.